Hello and welcome back to Space Engineers. In today's video, we're looking at another very unique land vehicle that uses wheels in an unconventional way. And this thing sitting right behind me is called the Crab, which is this lovely thing in a glorious red colour. So this comes with a well done camera on one arm and comes with a connector with a couple wheels on the other. When you spawn in, what it has on that connector is some kind of mallet, or at least I think there's a type of mallet. Where over here, you can just like lift it up, move it around, slam people over the head with it, whatever you want to do, but that is there if you want to use it. Back over to this one where it has the mallet detached, it's back to sitting right over there. And coming around over to here, pressing F10, finding it in the spawn menu, and we'll go from there. So the Crab comes in at 852 small blocks, using the Heavy Infantry, Warfare 2, Sparks of the Future, and Wasteland DLC packs. We've got no information whatsoever, so simply give this a thumbs up. Move around towards the very front, have a quick look around the outside, then we'll drive it around because it does have a cockpit on it, then we'll test it out with its very weird controls because it has some rocket launchers on here that fires backwards, but you can see that a bit later on. So at the very front, this is what we get. In fact, I'll come past the arms and look at it from here. This is the face of our Crab, which has been made out of two spotlights, we've got some beam blocks, then we've got some lovely armoured panels, just adding us these little feelers at the front that sort of just moving food into its mouth. To the left and right we can see some large hinges, they come all the way across on some more hinges, onto a rotor, and this is how our arm has been set up. So on the left hand side we've got our welder and camera, the right hand side we've got ourselves a connector and a couple of wheels, and we can move them around independently thanks to a custom weapon controller. If we were to move down and come around onto the sides, so past this arm we can see how it's all been clearly set up. Then over to the main body, over to this section we can see even more hinges, and this is how our legs have been angled and where our wheels come down to the ground. We also have a bunch of atmospheric thrusters all the way around this, which will need to be turned on if you want to move this thing around. It cannot use its wheels in a traditional fashion, it has to be pushed around by these. Then if we were to come around towards the back of this thing, we're going to see two more rotors. This time it's got some neon tubes coming out of it, acting as like little feelers, little antenna, not actually quite sure what these are meant to be, but we do have an air vent right between them to suck in oxygen from the surrounding areas, make sure you can sit in your cockpit for a nice long time. Yes, looking at it from the very back, that's all we can see. And we do have an exhaust block shooting out some smoke, some decoration. Moving all the way up and looking down, we're not going to be able to see too much, but we can clearly see our rocket launchers on the left and right hand side. We can see a couple wheels, some batteries, a hydrogen tank, then we've got two heat vents with a neon tube in the middle with an antenna to make sure we can always find this thing. Then over to this section next to these LCD screens, we've got some barred window blocks that come all the way down to our cockpit, and this is how we're going to drive it around. So we've simply got ourselves a rover seat, and no actual way to look out, so there is no cameras on this, so we will have to be relying on third person view or the camera on the welding arm. But we can see two more atmospheric thrusters to help slow this thing down, a reactor to give it a bit of power, and we can see some batteries on the side there, some additional power in case you need it. Anyway, putting out of this, continue around towards the front, over to here, this is the top where our spotlights are sitting, so we've got some blaster edge blocks onto a column, and this is in our sci-fi skin. In fact, I think it's a sci-fi skin, might be retro future, always get them mixed up. But there is a clear view at our claws at the front, and how they've all been set up. Anyway, coming down in underneath this thing, past its mouth, all the way down, this is a fantastic view of all the hinges and how they've all been set up, as well as the two rotors on our front arms, be able to twiddle them around, get into all the places we need. But other than that, we can't really see too much, other than some more thrusters, and a bunch of red and sort of creamy steel blocks. And there we go, I think that's a very brief look around the outside of the Crab. It looks bloody fantastic how it's all been set up, it's very well done, and it gets even better when we actually control the arms. So grabbing hold of my character, what we're going to do is now ignore this one, and come over to this one which has the mallet in the hand. We're just going to come up to this barred window blocks, hop into the cockpit, can be a little bit awkward, and this is all we can see. So like I said, we can't really see too much. Might be useful to have an LCD screen or two on the front here, maybe we can slap a camera somewhere on the body so you can have a static way to look forwards, backwards, left and right. Other than that, come to the third person view, two tabs to go through, and well, this is what we get. So number one is going to be for our custom weapon controllers to make it AI controlled on or off. Number two is going to be for our welding arm so we can take control of this, we can see the camera, we can now move this all the way around and get over to where it needs to go. Grabbing hold of the free camera and coming over to this Crab, then get a better look at it moving around. So over here, lifting it up, you can see it twiddling around, coming all the way up, and we move down and across, so we can do some repair work on that other arm if it took damage while trying to slam people over the head with that giant mallet. Anyway, pressing F to come out of that, we now press number 4, which is going to be for the opposite side, which is where we can lift up this arm, and then slam it down onto the ground and deal a nice bit of damage. With the free camera looking over to it, here it goes. It's quite hard to lift up because it is a very heavy block, and then slam it down, so you can do whatever with this. Anyway, coming out of that, pressing number 3, this is going to be for our power to lower all the way down to 0%. Number 5 is going to be for our connector on our arm, so taking control out once again, back into this, lifting it up. We can now press number 5, that disconnects that, falls down to the ground, and now we are free to move this thing around and away from that block. Anyway, back into proper third person view, and pressing number 6, it's going to be for our spotlights at the front, turn them on and off. Number 7 for our batteries to auto or recharge. Number 8 for our thrusters all the way around this to turn them on and off. And then number 9 is much like number 3, we'll use that to turn up the power in case we need to. Can put that down to 0% or 5% for now. Coming over to tab number 2 and bring the free camera back over because this is where it gets quite awkward with this vehicle. Where we've got controls for our rocket launchers. So in fact, we'll look at it like this. Number 3, number 4 is to turn on and off our rocket launchers, so we can now turn them back on. And then number 1, number 2, simply a click to fire them straight backwards. So suppose if you're scuttling away from the enemies, you can now just shoot them and, well, hopefully deal a bit of damage while trying to run away. And with that all done and out of the way, now it's time for me to properly grab hold of my character, and we can move this thing around and see how it handles. So moving forwards, this is what we get with the crab at 0% friction. I believe I called it power earlier, so do excuse that. Yes, we are very nice and smooth, and we should be able to go up to 100 meters per second on the ice without any problems appearing. As soon as we go on the grass, as soon as we increase the friction, it will start wobbling around, and that is where the danger is going to happen, and where, well, the damage is going to happen. So yes, we can now turn that up to 5% and start moving forwards. As we increase it, we can see it's starting to wobble more and more and more, becoming more unstable, especially when I try and move it around. I do need to decrease that a little bit, that was the wrong button, and come back to 0%. Yes, I've accidentally got into the arm, so I lifted up the welder. But now we can start over to this piece of grass to see how it handles that. This might be a bit dangerous to the arm, so I might actually have to go through all these and, well, lift them up. So out of that one, and into this one, lift that up. Hopefully that'll now be out the way of the ground as we come all the way up and up this little mountainside. So here we come, all the way up, and that was basically what I was expecting to happen on this section. So yes, we need to be a bit careful, but it does seem like we can drive this thing around. We've only lost our arm and one leg, and we're still perfectly drivable, and we can even still shoot our rocket launchers at the back. In fact, I am driving this wrong, they should be going on the side, but you know what, this is a different crab, and he can move forwards. But yes, as for that, that is just a funny little land vehicle that's slowly been torn apart by my reckless driving, and well, it's a lot of fun to drive around, and well, you could get a bit of fun out of it by actually using it properly in survival mode, by using the arms to weld stuff up, by using the little connector to lift stuff up and move it around, and well, doing whatever with. But of course, you have to drive quite safely on uneven surfaces, not do what I just did, and well, I'm not too sure what's happening with the wheel at the bottom there. It looks like something is going on. It looks like we replicated the wheel. If we had to get a bit closer, that's a little dodgy. It looks like we've got two wheels lapped into each other. Not sure how that has happened. But yes, that is pretty much it for the crab and what it has to offer. It's just a funny little design that I thought people might like. I've a link to it in the description below if you do wish to download and play around with it yourself. Hopefully if it spawns in one more time. It might spawn in, it might not. And there it is with his little mallet. But yes, there'll be a link to it in the description below like I said. And I'll be back with another video some point soon. Bye bye.